Awesome. So you guys have learned the insane power of Benjamin Franklin and his strategies, his secrets, and really like just his whole personality and his foundation of his character, which is so powerful. And then hopefully you got access to his autobiography, which is just absolutely amazing. And so now you can use that as part of your arsenal, as part of your toolkit, to grow and become so much more socially and achieve so much more with others. That'll take a couple days probably to get in the mail. At least it did for me, but it's on its way, which is so exciting. So now what we want to do is we want to take what we've learned and which we'll learn a little bit more about in his autobiography, and you want to apply that to reality, right? We also want to look at sort of like how you can take this concept and then scale it so that it has more impact the more people that you use it with, right? Which is so powerful. So let's jump over to the computer. Let's make it happen. So Dale, he has this very amazing example of, Catherine Allred of Kings Mountains, who's in North Carolina, which is like, so cool, North Carolina. And she was an industrial engineering supervisor for this yarn processing plant. So basically like this whole plant, and they are like yarn co. And they make like yarn. And she's the supervisor for like everybody in here, right? And she told the class how she handled a really tough problem before and after taking the training. And what's cool is like part of her responsibility was to deal with setting up and maintaining incentive systems and standards for their operations so that they can make more money by producing more yarn. Now the system they used that had worked fine, when they only had 2 or 3 different types of yarn. But the challenge was like recently they'd been developing. And, they had expanded their inventory and their capacity that enabled them to run like literally 12 different varieties of yarn, which is like super cool. And what's interesting is as they increase this production, they had to sort of change the system. So like the present system just fundamentally was no longer adequate to pay the operators fairly for the work being performed and give them an incentive to increase production. And she'd worked a new system which would enable them to pay the operator by the class of yarn they were running at any particular time. And with this new system in hand, she's got like this amazing idea, and she's like, dude, this is gonna be awesome, it's gonna be the coolest thing ever, and it's gonna allow us to pay everybody fairly, but also increase our overall long-term production by giving them, clients and workers incentives to produce and consume, which is super powerful. This situation reminds me a whole lot of this one book called The Goal, and the whole thing is all about like optimizing production in any kind of industrial manner, and more specifically like this idea that you want to get more out of your factory by optimizing the workflow, the compensation, and also overcoming bottlenecks. And like the goal like is so insanely powerful, and it goes like hand in hand with Ben Franklin's teachings. But like this example really reminded me of the goal, because the goal is like all about this concept of how to get more out of that production, how to increase your throughput while decreasing expenses and decreasing inventory. And like, oh my gosh, it is just gold. Like this is an insane book. I'll leave the book review below. Like these are just some really good book. It's kind of crazy cool. And this situation is sort of exactly what the foundation for the goal was, but then it goes just so much deeper. But this is sort of the more human side of it, not as much the production side of it, which applies, you don't have to have a freaking factory to learn how to increase your output in the marketplace and deliver more value, which is so powerful. So what they talk about here is something that's really interesting. She goes and she has her system and she wants to present it, and so she enters a meeting determined to prove to the management that her system was the right approach, and it told them in detail how they were wrong and showed them that they were being unfair, and how she had all the answers they needed. Now you gotta remember, people don't want to listen to you. They don't care. People care about one thing. They care about themselves. They care about their own importance. They care about their own significance. And as this lady basically comes up to the board that owns like the whole company and tells them all how they're like the worst ever. Like they're sitting in the circle. They're like, dude, screw you, What the heck, right? And to say the least, she failed miserably. No one listened to her. And she became so busy defending her position on the new system that she actually left no opening to graciously admit the problems on the old one. She was going so hard and talking so much about herself and her own ideas and her own concepts that she didn't give these guys the 10 seconds it would take them to actually think about and speak about and collaborate around the system. And as she just kept blurbing and blurbing and blurbing and blurbing and blurbing, she never paused to take 10 seconds. It actually forced them out of the conversation, and it pushed them away because they couldn't express themselves, the most important person to them, right? They couldn't look at the problems objectively because they didn't have the time to think about it themselves. And they would just have this new system being forced onto them. And as you force things on other people, they're gonna naturally wanna push away and be like, whoa, chill out, dude. Because people want to make decisions, right? But they wanna make them on their own. And after several sessions of this course, this lady, she realized that to do well, where she'd made mistakes in the past, she had to call another meeting. And this time, instead of trying to push this idea onto others, right? Instead of trying to, this is actually really interesting. We talk about this so much, with starting a startup company, right? You've got the people that you want to influence. So here it's the board member, and other places it might be your ideal clients in the marketplace, whatever, right? And then you've got you over here, and you're like, dude, I want to give you guys this awesome service, and I want to serve you, and I want to do stuff for you, right? What you have to do is you have to focus on the market, you have to focus on the people, you have to focus on the audience, instead of focusing on the XYZ product that you're going to actually sell to them or lease to them or whatever, right? So before you develop the actual product, the actual solution, you first need to identify the problem and let them literally tell you what they want to buy. When I started teaching stock courses, when I started writing books, when I started giving seminars, I would literally ask people what they wanted to learn about, and then I would teach them that. The product comes from the people, and then it goes to the people. As soon as she changed that mindset shift, everything changed. See, the deal was nobody cared for her, no one cared for her system, no one cared what she cared about. And so that's exactly what this lady realizes. She realizes she needs to call another meeting, and she needs to focus not on the solution, but she needs to focus on the people. And so she goes into this off, and they realize they've made mistakes, and she says, let's do it again. And she asked them what they felt their problems were. And she raised her hand and said, look, I need help, guys. What do you think the problems are with the factory right now? And they discussed each point. She asked, their opinions on which was the best way to proceed. And she's like, hey guys, what do you think we should do? And she came to this table, instead of pushing herself onto these individuals, she got rid of her bogus and said, hey, why don't you guys contribute to a central idea? Because we talked about earlier, if you work through a decision-making process with those around you, and they feel like they're participating in the decision-making, and they feel like they're participating in the planning, they're gonna be much, much, much more supportive of the end result. And that's what happens here. She asked them what they thought the problems were, and they discussed each point and asked them, how could you have this improvement? What's the best way to proceed? What is the best way to proceed? Ask others that, and they will feed you answers. With a few low-keyed suggestions at proper interval, this lady kind of let these guys know, about the system that she developed herself. But most of the conversation, she just sat back and let them develop the system. At the end of the meeting, these guys had put together a huge system all on their own. And then she just gently came in and said, hey, this is the system that I created. It's the same system that she showed them 2 weeks ago. But now the only difference between the two situations is that she took the time this second time to let them talk amongst themselves versus the first time trying to push it on. Now she's presenting in a way where she cares, but not that much. And she's gonna let them participate in the decision-making process. As soon as she presented the system, the new one that she was passionate about, that she worked so hard on, they enthusiastically accepted it. Because here's the deal. If you do work with others, they will like the outcome because the outcome is tied to them. But if you just do it by yourself, they don't care. The most crucial thing you can take from this and apply from it is that you must come to solutions, come to products, come to market, come to life plans if they involve others with others. Because not only are the different perspectives going to be paramount in value, but most significantly, everything will shift. The moment that you can empower others to come over to your way of thinking simply by having them involved in the process, because that's all anyone wants, is to feel significant, feel important, and be part of something. And so if you can give that to someone, it's insanely valuable. So go out there, take this concept, apply it, and ask others what they think is the best way to proceed. Very powerful, especially with any kind of team project. Always want to work with others. Remember, we're doing this huge English project. I didn't know what we were supposed to do with it. And I asked the group, what do you guys think we should do? And in the span of like 15 minutes, they collaborated and created this insanely amazing project based on this idea of like sewing and embroidery, all on them. And they absolutely crushed it. It's gonna be amazing. We're presenting it very soon. None of it came from me. I just played my part in facilitating the connections, and it led to that end result that satisfied everybody's goal, because we all have the same goal, right? That's the goal, right? To be on the same page, in the same room, at the same objective as those around you. And as soon as you can apply that, you can have the success you want and be able to enact really anything you want just by involving others in it, allowing them to freaking improve it. So let other people improve your goals, let other people improve your designs, and do more, be more, to have that next level of success, achievement, and development. Super cool stuff, guys. Hope you had a ton of value from this module. Go out there, apply it, and absolutely crush it. And I will see you in the next module. And also, snack the goal. I'll have the book for you below. It's so good. Thank you guys so much. See you soon. Bye.